Hello everyone, my name is Hatchet and I wasn't expecting to do this video today. Today was my fifth 5-0 in Take-2. I actually had the sense of mind to make this video while I still had the deck and everything, which is nice. Um, it was a very aggressive deck. I think that's the best way to build Shadow in Take-2. You can do it other ways as well, but the two times I have 5-0'd, my deck has looked very similar to what you see here. Just a lot of low drops, and then we get into the Voices of Resentment. The first time I 5-0'd, I actually had 3 Voices of Resentment, which was a huge deal. Just having 3 of them so you can use one early and then 2 late and just get board advantage after you run out of cards. Just having all these cards that 2 for 1 your opponent. Lurching Corpses are great. Lesser Mummy is pretty fantastic if you don't have a lot of things using up all your shadows, which I didn't. Um, this card's amazing. It didn't get used much in the game that I just won. It got used once, but it was pretty important in the game that I did win. It pushed 5 damage, which is great. 5 damage including an evolution. 2 things died, and then I got to push 5 damage with the Shadow Reaper. Feathered Patrollers are pretty great. Once again, if you don't have much using up your shadows, I really didn't. I had a lot of shadows coming in, just thanks to the kind of stuff that I had. Let's see here. Playful Necromancer is always good if you're going second. I think I went first most of the time, which is basically how I draft for. I draft in the case that I'm going first, though I do pick very strong cards for going second, like Playful Necromancer when I see them. White King's pretty good. I think my other options were not as low curve, so that's why I picked the White King along with a what was the other thing I picked? I think it was White King and Baylor were the last two. Bahamut and Shadow Reaper, I think, were the first two. Or it might have been White King and Shadow Reaper and Baylor and Bahamut. And Bahamut really surprised me in these runs. Once again, he performed the role of I don't think I would have been where I was at if he had been any other card, but having had been that card and knowing that I was going to draw him every game because of the way that games panned out, I'll get to that in a little bit, but because of the way the games panned out, I knew I was going to have Bahamut basically every game. That I played, so I was able to play in a fashion that used Bahamut well, which I think is what a lot of Take-Two players are unable to do with Bahamut, and I think that's why I normally have something like a 90% win ratio against people that pick Bahamut or have used Bahamut against me, because I'm always playing to beat that sort of thing. And in this case, I was playing to beat people who didn't play around this sort of thing. So I guess that's kind of where the difference is. This card can be good, I guess, but you need to be playing around the fact that it's there in order to make it good. So yeah, let's redeem rewards. And we'll get my 2. Oh, I get to go home and collect my this one. Nice. Not profile. I just got into A0 yesterday. I don't play a lot of whatchamacall Shadowverse, this game here, but the stuff that I do play is not a bad pack. Normally I meant to do 2 packs. Whoops. Normally Take2. Mostly because of missions. I don't have a lot of classes set up. I have a Control Blood and I have an Earthright deck, and that's it. Oh, that card. I got some golds. That's not bad. Got a lot of money too from the thing. So anyway, into the replays. These last couple games, these last 5, are my 5-0. So the key to playing an aggressive deck is to play an aggressive deck. I didn't want to keep the Knight Attendant here. I think I did though. No, I didn't. I just drew him later, I think. But I was okay with keeping the Lurching Corpse, because if he played like a Quick Blader on 1, and then he couldn't play a Navy Lieutenant on 3, or a whatchamacall on 3 either, or on 2, Veteran Lancer, because that would have been really bad for him. So here I just decided to play the Skeleton Knight. There's no need to pull the trigger on killing something this soon. I can always draw into a Necro Assassin and just blow him out here, which I did. And this pretty much sealed the game. Right now I have 2 3 attacking minions on the board. He has to evolve something into one of them. He's going to evolve it into the Necro Assassin, which is the correct play. And I get the Soul Hunt, set up another Lurching Corpse, and hit him in the face for another 3 damage. I could have evolved and hit him in the face for 5, and that was something I had considered. It might have even been right. This turn it probably is right, but I didn't do it this turn either. I just didn't feel the need. Even if he trades into the 3-1 with the Storm guy, that's okay for me. And then he goes ahead and does this, and it's slightly less okay for me, but I've still just got all the damage I need to win the game. It's not that big of a deal. So that one ended on turn 7, having only had 2 evolutions go off. He really should have evolved his thing and traded it into my Baylor, even though that would have killed his thing. Baylor just being alive represented 3 damage. You could say it represented 5, but I could have evolved the other thing as well. So it really only represented 3 damage, and then the Lurching Corpse represented 1, and an evolution point represented 2. He probably even should have evolved the Sword Whip Maiden after playing it, ran it into the... Oh, no, that wouldn't have worked. That would have been pretty bad for him, because the Lurching Corpse would have went off, or the Baylor would have went off. Yeah, so no, never mind. He killed the right things, he just didn't kill enough things. He should have killed the Baylor. In my opinion. He was that low on health, he doesn't have healing, he's sword. And then he had his amulet up, his Arturian Light, which was a very, very low tempo play. And I just had board control at that point, and it was just like not scary at all for me. I was just pushing enough damage. So this game, I think, was almost as easy as the last one was. But the third game was kind of hard. I got kind of sad that I drew the Goblin here. I was really hoping to draw a 2-drop on top of the Goblin, because this is like my entire late game. Soul Grinder, Andrus, Dance of Death. I guess the one late game card is like Cursed Soldier and Bahamut are there. I don't have the deck anymore. I got the rewards. But this is just fine for me. Like, all this stuff is dead. Let's just make all the correct trades here to make sure that all his stuff dies. My stuff is left with as much health as possible, and I'm left with as much stuff as possible. 2 snowmen. I considered evolving one of these snowmen just to push damage, but then I decided not to. Like, it might have been right if I was going to Resurrection, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do that or nothing at the time. So this is okay for him, but that's the real kicker. Like, I would have Undying Resentment if he didn't trade the snowman and it would have been fine. So it's kind of weird now, everything that's happening. But this is fine because this thing has Ward and Bane. Anything he evolves here has to, first curse. So now that's a card that I'm actively playing around. Second curse and third curse. There's a point where I can just play Soul Grinder on turn 8, I think. I think that's what I was considering doing on turn 8. And then I thought better of it because he could just third curse it. Because he's going to second curse this Unica. And I was okay with him second cursing this Unica. That's perfectly fine by me. That's like his entire turn to do. So that's perfectly okay. But now I don't want to play this Soul Grinder on 8, so I just play a much less threatening thing instead. So here I'm considering using the Dance of Death, or just playing Baylor. And I decided the Dance of Death was better for some reason. Just because it got the thing off the board and it was 5 damage and stuff like that, I'm sure. He trades here, which is actually a pretty smart move to do. Because that way I can't threaten his stuff, his better stuff, anymore. So I play out the Spartoy Soldier here, both knowing that I'm going to need the extra shadows, and knowing that there's not a lot of stuff he can do that's just strong. Like, I was going to play the Andrus and hit his thing and hit his thing again, and then his board would have been wiped, but the Bahamut was just the better play here. So he plays out 2 things, I believe. And I can just Andrus one of them and win the game. I top deck the Feather Patroller though, so that's clearly the move. Just always play the top deck card to tilt your opponent. For no reason other than just to tilt them. And make them lock their phone and waste your time. That guy actually didn't do that though. I shouldn't say that. That guy took the 13 damage like a human being and lost the game with grace. So this game was tricky. This game was actually very, very tricky. And once again, it's because of the whole thing where I said, if you start with Bahamut in your opening hand, you can play around having Bahamut for a swing turn. However, this card could just be any other card right now, and I would probably be in a much better position. So I considered making this guy into a Lich here instead of playing this guy. I kind of figured that was wrong though. Nothing he can do here is very strong against just a 1/4. I get to play a Goblin, and then I make the Goblin into a 4/4 because the Goblin doesn't do anything at all on this board. It dies to this. So this guy got a Tina, and since it's a neutral gold, I think it has to be in like just his pool of 26 cards. But this is a very good just top deck and use of mana. I considered playing the Rise of the Dead here, but it wasn't very strong. It was just kind of strong. And then here I have no good plays, so I just pass. If he had evolved this thing, like I think he should have, because that's just a 5/9, I wouldn't have had any course of action for like the rest of the game. And I considered that last turn too. I considered just running the Mummy in, just in case he evolves it. But that wound up working out for me very well, just like not doing that. Because he didn't evolve it. He just had 2 evolution points and he had 1 to spare to use. So here I set up a pretty strong play. I mean, he just had a Breath of the Salamander, that's okay. That's out of the way now. I don't have to worry about most things in his deck anymore. Andrus comes down, and I hit him in the face. Because that's very relevant damage considering my Cursed Soldier. He evolves a Genesis Dragon, which was very scary, and he kills my Andrus, which I don't think... Well, it was the correct play because he knew I had a Cursed Soldier in my hand, but I don't think it was very strong. For this play, I considered evolving the Mummy, and I think in most cases evolving the Mummy would have been better. He had a Dread Dragon, and he misplayed by putting the 4 damage onto this guy instead of the Mummy. So I still just have this Mummy. And I'm going to milk this Mummy for all it's worth. I'm just not going to play out the Cursed Soldier. That's a bad plan. However, he has all this stuff, and that's okay. None of that mattered to me right at that moment. I'll just take the 4-3 off the board and then make my first Mummy, because that puts more pressure on him. He has to kill this now, regardless of what he does here. He has to kill this, which he has the Dragon Fist, which means that I am now up on cards, miraculously. So since I am now at the point where I can be up on cards with Bahamut, this is the most important time to play Bahamut. He plays out 3 cards, but I just have the Baylor and the Soul Conversion. He was never going to win this game from this point. I could have used the Voices of Resentment, but I thought this was more fun. Still, like, despite the voices being off the top. I thought that was more fun. I thought that was the tiltier play, even though the voices was off the top. So anyway, yeah, Bahamut won me that game. But it could have been a different card under a lot of different circumstances, and been a better card. I could have won sooner, is the issue. Like, there were turns where I just entirely skipped my turn because Bahamut was in my hand instead of other things. But because Bahamut was in my hand, I was able to play around my own having Bahamut. So that was a very fortuitous draw, this goblin right here. This is a very important goblin. I'm not scared of a Skull Cradle Whittle. I'm just going to play a Lurching Corpse and go face. There's actually no reason for me to trade here. He plays... This card is very good, actually. The Rabbit Necromancer, I really like that card. Soul Hunt just matches up really well against it, and then I do 3 to his face, or 2 to his face, so 3 total so far. He played a Skull Cradle Widow, and actually, I have options here. I can play a Necro Assassin on my Lurching Corpse, kill both of these Skull Cradle Widows. He has an evolution point next turn. So I'm thinking that's not that strong of a play, because he'll be up on cards with me. This is like a very important turn, by the way. This is deciding the game type of turn. I can't stress that enough. But if I leave my goblin unprotected, if I don't Necro Assassin, he can trade free into the goblin, which isn't great for me, because then he just has a strong board that I can't Necro Assassin anymore. Not extremely well, anyway. And that just doesn't bode well for me at all. Both of these cards are going face. That's true regardless of anything else I do here. I could evolve this goblin and go face with it, and that makes the goblin a lot safer. I could just play the Knight Attendant. I could just play the Shadow Reaper. Like, all of my options seem rather poor, actually, when you think about them. But the best plan is either playing just the Knight Attendant or the Shadow Reaper. I don't think using an evolution point here is correct. I could, you know, in theory, evolve the Shadow Reaper and trade, but that's also just very weak. So I think the best plan, I don't remember what I do if I play the Shadow Reaper or the Attendant of the Night. I think it's the Shadow Reaper, but we'll see. Did I? Okay, there we go. So I play the Attendant of the Night, actually. Because I'm thinking here that, that is stronger to Necro Assassin. I'm not planning on Necro Assassinating this guy, is, I think, the thought process here. So, this is a very good draw. This lets me spend most of my mana and put up a very strong board against his. Because I get to trade this off and I still have a 4-4 play. Hit him in the face for 2 more. So, this is a very weak play on his behalf. Because this card only gets +1/+1 stats. He actually sat on how he was going to do these trades for a long time, and I think he made the correct decision just trading his thing into my Lich. And then I think the order of what he does here is wrong, but I think it's right enough where it doesn't matter. Whoops. So he trades a Skull Cradle Widow into this, then he hits face for 2, which I would have done first, but as long as he trades into the thing last, it's fine. Right? So that's fine. So here, I believe it's correct to make a Necro Assassin, because I'm able to play the Shadow Reaper and he is a 2/2 now. Yeah. Oh, what did I actually play? What did I actually play? Soul Conversion. Makes sense. That draws 2 cards. That's also very good. That's also acceptable. But the Necro Assassin would have made this Lich, made me not have to use an evolution point. But it winds up being fine. I have the Dance of Death for his Lord of the Flies, and this is the turn I push 5 with the Shadow Reaper. So I could have been up 1 evolution point, and then up another minion. He plays Pluto, that's fine. I play Voices of Resonance here, I kill his Pluto and hit him in the face for 1. That way if I top deck a Cursed Soldier, I win the game on the spot. Unless he has some sort of healing like Kawi. So he played 2 minions, didn't evolve the Serdwin. I would have evolved the Serdwin in this position. Which allows me to Necro Assassin this turn. Now, I could have had an evolution, so it might not have mattered in the long run that I didn't have the Necro Assassin, but this did wind up being stronger overall, I think. So he plays the Cerberus, and he plays this thing. He evolves this thing just for the extra attack point, I believe, because that's literally it. I don't... Like, you get the same amount of damage out of both of them, but he wanted a 6/2 instead of a 5/5, and I don't blame him. So this turn I get to play Bahamut, and it goes basically unanswered. That's not a very strong play. I'm still on a Cursed Soldier to win, on another sort of like charge minion with Voices of Resentment, which is what I actually get here. But I also could have Rose of the Dead to get another Bahamut back, which is why I was okay with playing that Bahamut out there. It just killed 3 things, I believe, and stuff. Trust me, every play made way more sense in my head as I was actually playing, rather than going back through and commentating. I think the Necro Assassin play on that one turn was stronger on that turn, but it wasn't stronger down the line, and that's probably what I was thinking of. As I was playing that game, I was thinking, I can save this Necro Assassin for a stronger turn later. And a stronger turn later is way more valuable in that spot, was, I think, my thought process there. So I just drew cards instead, so I could have a much stronger late game, which was a good play by me. I'm glad I made that play. So that just let me spend my mana without just playing the Skeleton Knight. I was very, like, not wanting to play the Skeleton Knight there, so I was glad I was able to not do so. I think playing nothing was actually stronger for him than playing the Navy Lieutenant, because it just gave me a 4/4 in play. He makes this play here. So I'm just sort of like up cards now for no reason. Which is, you know, good for me, but I don't think his game plan for the early game was very strong, especially considering what I had. Like, even if if I had not had the removal spell for the lieutenant, I think that everything he's doing is very, very weak. It's a very, very poor use of resources. So I am very, very happy to see it. I think I considered killing this 1-1 and decided it wasn't worth it. So he just whole souled swings my Unica instead. And he doesn't evolve to get the extra 1-1 here, which I think was questionable. Feathered Patroller is good, Skeleton Knight is good. I considered once again evolving to get rid of this 1-1, but it wasn't worth it before, and it's not worth it this time. Okay, so this is sick. Just top decking the Voices of Resentment every single time I need to. I have 2 of them in the deck, it's not unlikely to see one in the top 11 cards of my deck. And now I get to kill the 1-1. I cost myself 3 damage on the face, but I'm not killing him quite anytime soon. This is fine. The Hell's Unleasher is a great draw again, because I can Dance of Death, Hell's Unleasher, Vault Move, because I saved my evolution, kill off his 2-3, and I'm just set with this board that's very strong going into a Bahamut turn. I can get a Skeleton and a Lich by playing Bahamut, if nothing else. He has a Humpty Dumpty, this is very strong for him actually. And that makes my Lich and my Skeleton a lot worse, but it is still just putting him down to 4 damage, 4 health. And I think this is a point where most people would just like not play Bahamut, but I am every bit okay of playing Bahamut here, especially after drawing the Rise of the Dead. And if he had played these cards and I had not played Bahamut, I would be in a very, well, I would have the Bahamut for these cards, I guess, but I would be in a much worse position, honestly. So this Lesser Mummy lets me win the game on the spot, otherwise I was going to have to slightly fight for it. I was going to kill the Satan and hit his face for 1, and probably Rise of the Dead. But just to get another thing onto the board, another strong thing onto the board, so I could potentially kill off anything he drew. But yeah, playing the Bahamut when I did was actually very influential in that game. And I could have saved it for the following turn, but there's no guarantee he would have played those cards on the following turn. He would have played the Blitz Lancer, probably traded in the Blitz Lancer and the thing that wasn't the Thief into my Lich, and then he would have traded the Thief into my 1-1 token. And then he might have played the Gemstaff Commander, and then he would have had 2 guys on the board and another card in hand. Or he could have even just played the Satan and traded the Thief into the anything and drew an additional Satan card earlier. And that would have been far scarier for me. So I believe that was the correct play, just playing the Bahamut when he was low on cards, when he had the Thief on the board. No reason to give him extra cards, no reason to do anything but push face damage, because I can always draw Cursed Soldier for the victory. So just like all those things going on. Anyway, this has been Hatchet. That was my 5th 5-0 in Take2. I actually found out that my Take2 records were wrong. I actually added a couple of extra games from one day. I like added them to my spreadsheet twice. And the reason I figured that out was because of, where is it? It's like win 200 games. My win 200 Take2 matches didn't actually add up to the amount that I have been winning. I actually had like several games more worth, and I have deleted those games from my records. So in the comment below, that's where I keep my win records and stuff like that. I still have to update my spreadsheet with the 5-0 I just won. So anyway, thank you all for watching. It's been fun. This one was longer because I added in the deck list and the opening of the packs. See you next time.